Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah Macintyre. And today I'm really excited. I'm trying to be normal, but it's just not happening because I'm interviewing the lovely Juan from New York, who's going to be the first of my special guests joining me on the podcast for season 2. So hi, Juan, introduce yourself to everybody and tell them a bit about you.
Hi, Hannah. It is so wonderful to be here with you and to meet you. As you know, I love your podcast. So this is a little bit of a dream come true for me. It's wonderful. So I'm Juan. I go by Juan Francisco, wherever you may find me on social media. I live in New York City, as Hannah said. I'm actually a publicist by trade, but I'm also a spiritual intuitive who practices mediumship and reads tarot cards. And I felt the presence of spirit since I was a really young child. But most of the experiences I had as a child, I didn't recognize them as being spirit until maybe a year or two ago. That is a little bit about me, and I know we'll get into more about me and my story.
Oh, amazing. So let's go straight. I'm going to go straight in here now. So a year or two ago, it changed for you, did it?
It did. When I got my first tarot deck, everything changed for me.
Oh, wow. So tell us what happened. Because I know some people are very traditional with tarot. Did you buy your own first tarot deck, or did it get you another way? And how did that change things?
I did purchase my own tarot deck, but the way I discovered tarot was a little interesting. So I grew up in a very progressively spiritual family. My father actually used to read cards for people, and then he stopped. And once I started going to Roman Catholic school and Christian Protestant school, a lot of that in my family stopped. And I grew up in a more conservative environment between teenagehood and my adult years. And so I had this idea of tarot being evil and, I was very much against it in my younger years. And then a friend of mine, as I grew more open-minded spiritually in the last 5 or 10 years, I got to know a friend of mine who's today my best friend, and she reads cards. She did a reading for me 2 years ago. And I was so impressed by her own skill. And I so resonated with the practice of reading cards. And I was one day in a holiday market here in New York City at a bookstore. And I saw the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which is the very traditional deck, but it was calling my name. And I felt like I was not sure about whether or not I wanted to get it, but my gut told me, get it. And so I bought it, and I haven't looked back since then.
Oh, amazing. So it was your friend's reading that kind of opened the door for you and just made you more aware. I love that. So your main thing is traditional tarot.
It is. And I did start with looking up the historical significance of each card. But then after studying it, maybe for one run through the whole deck, then I decided to put the guidebook away for a little bit and just start reading them more intuitively. I think there's a lot that we can bring to cards themselves. The cards have their significance, but our intuition works with the cards. So I like to do as much of my own intuitive reading as I can.
Oh, incredible. That's fantastic. So you're working with the cards, and your friend, I assume your friend was supporting you through your own learning journey as well, and didn't just come in and go, there's a reading, see you later. And so you started learning the meanings, the history of the cards. And then, where did you start to take it further, to open yourself up to spirit?
Well, I started by doing readings with my best friends for them. And actually it was with this friend, she asked me to read her. And in my reading with her, that's when what I think was for the first time, when my mediumship abilities kicked in. So now my reading with cards has really evolved to a point where I'm not just reading messages through the cards from spirit, but I'm also, if I get the permission of the sitter and the permission from spirit, to channel a departed loved one as I'm doing card readings. So it's evolved a lot. So from being introduced to it through this friend of mine, and then she asking me to do a reading for her, and then that's when the mediumship abilities kicked in. So card reading is kind of a hybrid of an experience for me nowadays. And I do now do readings for folks that are not my friends anymore, which is quite wonderful. Doing it for strangers, it's actually a little easier for me because I know too much about my friends.
Completely agree, because your opinions come in when you're reading for people. You can't,
exactly.
They've been moaning about someone for the last 6 months. You don't want to then sort of give them a lovely mushy message about them, because you're still
I have an opinion about their ex as it is. So any questions about their ex?
Wow. So, right. Oh, this is fascinating to me. So I've never heard of anybody using cards to connect to somebody's loved one in the spirit world. I love that everybody's mediumship is individual, and that's exactly how I believe it should be. So how does that work?
Well, to be honest, I can't explain how it started. It just happened. I saw a card, and some cards in the deck are associated with certain zodiac signs. I asked about that zodiac sign. I asked my friend, and that sign connected with someone she knew who departed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave a message that I felt was coming through, which I'd never done before with a departed soul. But then once I finished the tarot reading, the soul was still with me after I hung up the phone. So I don't necessarily use the cards to channel the departed. If the departed want to come through, they'll come through. But I also do practice mediumship without cards. It's just tarot is such a bridge to the next, or to learning about this other ability that I have, which is mediumship. So mediumship may come in through tarot cards, but tarot cards don't always have to be involved in mediumship for me.
I get you. Perfect. It's so fascinating. So it's more like it's opening the door.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, great. So I know on your podcast, Third Eyesight, you have been talking about some of your experiences with spirit that set you on this journey and helped to open you up. And so can you tell us about one of your most profound experiences with the spirit world?
It's actually one of my experiences in a mediumship circle.
Mm-hmm.
So when I discovered my gift for mediumship in September of last year, 2021, I joined a mediumship circle, and this one reading, I mean, there have been many profound readings that I've done for people and that people have done for me in circle, but there's this one reading where this young woman joined our group, and I had never met her before. And when she popped up on the screen as the person being spotlighted to be read, and for some context, when I do mediumship readings in a circle, I write down all my notes, and I don't say what I'm channeling until I'm finished writing a whole page of notes with all the messages, the details, the descriptions. So I write down all my notes, and the thing that comes up is father figure. And this father figure is telling me, I'm going to walk you down the aisle. And to be honest, I freaked out a little bit because I'm thinking, I'm telling this young woman, I don't know if she's engaged. I don't know what her romantic circumstance is. And for me to tell her that her father on the other side will walk her down the aisle. That's not a small statement to make. Mm-hmm. And then this father figure told me to look at the necklace she was wearing and that there was significance tied to it. So I finished my notes, and I go off mute on Zoom, and I ask her, I got very nervous. So I was treading very, very lightly and very carefully. I said, do you have a male I was very generic. Do you have a male on the other side who is departed? She goes, yes. I said, is it a father figure? Uncle, grandfather, father? Yes. And I said, okay, I'll be honest. I'm feeling like your father passed. She goes, my father has passed. So now I'm getting a little emotional inside. Juan is a little bit of a wreck inside because I'm starting to really feel the emotions of like what this woman is about to feel. And I told her, your father's telling me he's going to walk you down the aisle. And she starts getting very emotional. She says, I just got engaged. And then I told her, he's making me look at your necklace. And I don't know if this necklace is something that's tied to him or to your current fiance or another relationship of any sort that you had. And she told me, I don't usually wear necklaces. I don't have very many, but I decided to wear this one today. And it's the necklace my father gave to my mother when they were dating.
Wow.
And my little beginner medium Juan lost it inside. That has been to this day, and I think ever, the most profound spiritual experience I've ever had. There are some others I've had growing up. But I think looking at my experiences in totality, that experience channeling that father's soul for this young bride to be was just, I can't, as for now, nothing has topped that as of yet. I'm sure there'll be more experiences to come.
Amazing. And yet this is something I know you listen to my podcast, so you would have heard me say, but they're so clever. They're so clever with how something so little can actually be so profound and so amazing. And that's just incredible. That it always blows my mind. I hope it always does. I feel like it will. It's just absolutely amazing. And what a gift to give her. What an amazing...
I felt so honored. I felt so honored to be that that human being chosen to channel that message, I feel nothing but honored to be chosen by spirit for those 10 minutes of that day. And yeah, it blows my mind. Spirit never ceases to blow my mind.
Yeah, me neither. Amazing. That's so fantastic. So obviously you said to me you wanted to come on here and talk from somebody who feels like they're quite early in their journey, although I'm sure to a lot of people listening, that sort of ability of being able to hear that actually is pretty advanced. But how has your work progressed from when you started a couple of years ago to now? What can you see changing in it?
I think that my struggle with self-doubt is becoming less intense, because self-doubt for me is not just a struggle in the department of spiritual intuition, but across my life. I am a very self-doubting person, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. I don't know if you've experienced this yourself, Hannah, but sometimes I'm very nervous to be wrong, but I'm also just as nervous to be right when a message comes through and it hits the mark. So I'm learning to just go with it and reminding myself I should give myself credit for being open to being the channel and being proud of that. But I also need to acknowledge that for myself, what I feel I need to acknowledge that I am just the channel. It's really all spirit doing the work, and I am permitting it to happen through me. And therefore this fear of being wrong, or the nerves to be right, or the anxiety about being right, or something being an emotionally charged situation. Those are just things I know that I have to learn to cope with on my end. Thanks to therapy, that's helped a lot. But I think over time I've learned to put aside the self-judgment and the self-doubt. And I've also learned to, spirit, like you said, is very clever. And sometimes spirit will say something really blunt and I have to think, how do I say that? Because I have a potty mouth, and sometimes spirit has a potty mouth too. Yeah. So I have to really gauge. I've become better at gauging the energy of the sitter, how they might best receive a message. But I want to still give the message in a way that doesn't totally filter what spirit is telling me, but gets the message across, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
I'm getting better with wording.
Mediumship, it's so simple, but it's actually, there's so many different aspects to it. And it's not just about your spirit connection. It's also about the way that you deliver it. It's such a massive part of it. So completely agree with that. And there's so many things that you were saying there where I was just thinking, oh, yes. I mean, I always say when people start working with me, you think it's going to be about going out of yourself and connecting with the spirit world, and you find out it's actually about you and connecting with you. And promise us all who are listening to this, if you ever work out how to get into a complete space of 100% trust and no fear, you will share that with the rest of us, because we're all trying. And it's the biggest problem, isn't it?
Oh, yes. No, the more I do this work, the more inside I go. It's not about escaping from myself. It's about, and some people call it the shadow work. I identify with that phrase, the shadow work. It really makes me confront some of the struggles I've had with myself as a human being growing up and being the adult that I am today. So yes, 100% agree.
Yeah. And it should be simple. You hear it, you say it, you give it, but it's not that we don't trust spirit. I think it's that we don't trust ourselves to have heard it correctly. And like you say, the fear of being wrong, the fear of getting a no just holds you back so much. So we've probably just covered it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What advice would you give somebody who's right at the beginning of their journey?
I love that question. There are 3 things that come to mind. I'll go through them quickly. But number 1, seek your tribe. Whether it's circles, mediumship circles, or spirit circles, following people on social media that you connect with on an energetic level, consulting with a spiritual healer or intuitive that you trust. For me, podcasts like your own really helped a lot. YouTube videos. And I think secondly, and this is an important one that I've learned over the last few years, not letting anyone convince you to ignore your gut feeling. I've had to learn that even in the realm of spiritual work, I've had some mentors, and the mentors just didn't work out for me because they advised me to go about my gift in ways that were going against the gut feeling I had. And it's no judgment or says any statement about that mentor and their gift and their abilities. But I think the second piece of advice is just to be very honest with yourself about the people you surround yourself with as you do this spiritual work, and who you're looking to for trust and advice. And then, as we just covered, that it's okay to be wrong. I've had to really accept that it's okay. And I've had this self-talk before, where I told myself, if I get things wrong in a reading, I'm not a medium, I'm not psychic, and I failed the sitter, and I failed spirit, and I shouldn't do this anymore. But then I also remind myself, well, no one in any line of work on this planet feels they are 100% competent all the time. At least not any coworker I've ever worked with has ever felt like that way. We're souls in human bodies channeling spirit through the filters of our human bodies. So we will sometimes get things wrong. And I've learned to accept that that is okay.
Completely agree. And because, I mean, I don't know how you receive your information from spirit. For me, it's just a knowing. I couldn't label it particularly on any way. I just know stuff. And so therefore, it's very hard as well, because it's not even like you hear it really clearly or you see it really clearly. You just know it. And so therefore, when you are doubting, or by default, you will doubt that sometimes, because we're human beings.
Right.
Yeah. Fascinating. I love it. Thank you. Okay. So do you have a daily practice? Do you do something to prepare yourself for your work every day, or?
I meditate for 2 hours no, I don't.
I was like, wow.
No judgment on that at all. I wish I could, but I start with that joke because my daily practice isn't perfect, but I am proud of the progress I've made. So I read a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron a couple of years ago, and in it she talks about doing morning pages. When you first wake up, you write 3 pages. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, just write 3 pages and write every thought that comes to your head that you woke up with. I do my own version of that, where I wake up, grab my water, and I write for 15 minutes what's on my mind, what the struggles or the anxieties I woke up with, the struggles or the joys and the happy thoughts I woke up with, just writing everything down, what I'm looking forward to in my day. And then I finish with 3 things I'm thankful for and 3 affirmations. And following that, I do a 3 or 5 minute meditation, to be honest. If I know I'm going to run late for work, I maybe do 1 minute meditation, maybe 10 minutes of writing, but it depends on the day. But I try, right now I do it Monday through Friday as best as I can. I would like to incorporate that into all 7 days of the week, but it really has changed. This is a big statement to make, but I'm being honest. It has changed my life, for me personally, to journal everything I wake up with, because otherwise I will take what I woke up with, whatever struggles or anxieties or thoughts, into my work day or into the rest of my day. And it just feels so good to let it all out. And then occasionally something I enjoy doing is I have a dog, and I'll walk my dog without my phone in my neighborhood for 10-15 minutes, and I will have conversations with my spirit guides. I will say, so what are we talking about today? Or if I have a question, can I ask you, XYZ? And I have had some full-blown conversations with my spirit guides. And that's really, really helped me to gain some insights.
Exactly. And I was just talking to my students about this at the weekend, is that you should have an ease with your spirit guides. So it's not that you need to be in the lotus position at a certain level of breath work on a starved stomach, and calling in spirit. There should be an ease. And I think that's so important. I talk to mine when I walk my dog a lot. And I think it's easier because you're doing something and you're allowing that time sometimes I just feel like I'm walking with them and we're having a chat like friends. And then when I do need them, and I do need the advice, and I do need the guidance, it's easier because I've been chatting to them about all the rubbish for weeks on end before that. So
exactly.
Perfect. Okay. What do you think every single person who works with the spirit world needs to know?
I think that for everyone that works with the spirit world, or people who don't work with the spirit world?
People who do work with the spirit world.
I think people should know that it's okay to not know how it works. Something I've asked myself, and some people have asked me, people who are not involved in this work, is, well, how do you do it? And I try to wrap my brain around a good explanation to explain how it works. And I can't. I mean, the best explanation and the simple answer is it's spirit, it's source, it's the energy of the universe. Otherwise, I don't know how it works. And it's okay if I can't prove it, if I can't explain exactly. Like, it's not like you open up a manual and you like an IKEA manual for furniture and you put together the pieces and, oh, there's the message from spirit. That's the loved one. That's the description and the evidential information. It's just like you said yourself, you just know things. They just come to you. For me, it's a lot of signs and symbols and metaphors. And I also sometimes feel things physically, or I'll hear phrases in my head in my own voice. I'll see flowers or whatever symbol it might be. I don't know where I do know where those come from, but you know what I mean? I can't tell you, like, I'm not thinking up a daisy and then the word daisy comes up for the sitter 1 hour after the reading somewhere else. I don't know how that happens, but I also do know it's spirit, and spirit is absolutely limitless. So I think as workers, as intuitive workers, it's important for, especially those who are starting out, that you don't have to feel pressure to explain how you do what you do. If you know you do it and the gut feeling tells you you have the right message or the right symbol, just say it and let the message do the work once it leaves your mouth.
Amazing. And completely agree. I think we get so caught up in the mechanics of it all that sometimes we forget to enjoy the wonder of it all. So yeah, clap, clap, clap. Love that.
Absolutely. And it is wondrous. It's mind-blowing. I'll never stop being blown away. I won't be.
No, I don't think I will either. I love it. I love it. Okay. So here's another big philosophy question for you, because I do love a bit of philosophy. What do you think is the biggest thing that the human race need to overcome for our spiritual evolution?
A question for the ages. You know, my personal belief, and part of my philosophy, is that comparison is a source of so many struggles on this planet. Comparison causes wars, for many debt, trying to keep up with the Joneses, body image issues, you name it, and a host of other issues that spring from those. I think that one way for us to really help our human family elevate is to accept the fact that we are all souls having human experiences, and therefore we are all coming from one source. There's no one human being worth more than another because of the clothes they wear, the riches they have, the looks they have, the cars they drive. I think the closer we get to accepting that fact that we're all just souls from the same source, the closer we will get to a world where there is less of the struggles that we face today.
Mm-hmm. Oh, completely agree. Lovely. Thank you. And what advice would you give somebody who's not had a reading yet, but who would like one?
I say listen to your gut feeling about the timing of the reading you want to book and with whom you're going to have it. And I think also definitely come with an open heart, because the energy you arrive to a reading with can affect the reading. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing, which I think might be the most important for me, in my opinion, is once you have the reading, let yourself sit with the message you received and really absorb it. I have a friend who reads cards, and she has had some clients who will book her asking a question, and then they'll book her 5 more times asking the same question in like weekly or bi-weekly. Mm-hmm. And she's had to tell them, listen, I really want to respect the energy between us, and I want to say this respectfully, that you need to have some time in between readings, because you need to let the message sink in, and you're not going to get a different answer with the same question each card reading we do. So I think it's very easy for us, and I'm speaking for myself too. I've been in this spot before in the past when I've booked psychic intuitives before. It's easy for us to be obsessive about booking readings. And I think when at the point it becomes obsessive, it becomes more about validating the gut feeling we already have. Mm-hmm. And rather than receiving a message that we want to receive from spirit. Now, I do want to say that is very difficult for me to say when we're talking about the context of someone who lost a departed who lost a loved one.
Yeah.
That's quite different. I think that's definitely a case-by-case basis. But I think overall, letting yourself sit with the message once you've received it, let yourself absorb it, and let it sink in. That's so important after reading. I've been that person before who gets a reading. Here's an answer I don't like. Then I just go on my merrily way, and I'm disappointed on my merrily way, and I book the next reading to validate the answer I want to hear. I think that's very important, to let it sink in.
Yeah, completely. Absolutely. And sometimes just to do the work.
Yes.
Because you get told so much stuff that you need to do, and there's no way that you can get it all done and assimilate all that energy and process everything and get in alignment with everything in a week or 2 weeks or even a month.
Yes.
So,
and anyone who has done that, again, as you said before, Hannah, let us know. We want the secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love that.
Who are you and how did you manage it?
Yes.
I'm still dealing with stuff from readings 3 years ago. Like, absolutely. Okay. So if you could go back in time to when you first started reading, what advice would you give yourself?
I think I would tell myself, don't place all your faith in a human mentor in this work. And I'll explain why I'm saying this. I would have encouraged my past self to trust that mentor, but not put all my faith in that person. So a little bit of story time. There was a psychic medium that I was following on social media, who is definitely gifted, 100% gifted. And I grew to really admire her and get to know her a little bit, because she would do lives. And we built this little community of people who really admired her and her work. There was a day, actually it was over a course of some months, where she more and more was bringing in medical advice and politics. Now, medical mediums are a different subject. I think medical mediums, if you're self-professed medical medium, that's quite different. Giving medical advice is different. But she was not, and she was bringing in politics and medical advice, and I started to feel uncomfortable with it, and it was becoming a little bit. The conversations she was having on lives were becoming a little bit abrasive. And around that same time, I was developing my own intuitive gifts and coming into my own in that way. So I made the personal decision to close that chapter of getting to know her more. And I disengaged with her on social media. And the next thing I knew, without naming me, thankfully, even if she did, I wouldn't care. But without naming me, she let it be known to the fellows in this community of people following her that I betrayed her. I betrayed the community by disengaging with her and by sharing about my own intuitive gifts on my own social channels. And she actually said the phrase, "He no longer has my protection." And my little beginner self was very nervous, because I thought, I'm on her naughty list. Does this mean that did I really betray her? Did I betray spirit because she's a spiritual worker? I was gaslighting myself. And then a friend, I was relaying all this to a friend and getting their advice and their comforting words, and they said, "Who died and made her God?" and so it reminded me, and I know this sounds quite dramatic, but it was a really important experience in my development as an intuitive, that there's a difference between trusting a mentor and putting on all your faith in a mentor. The most important thing is putting faith in ourselves, and then trusting those who have the advice to give us, to help us develop. So know your mentors, get to know them, build your trust in them. And not everybody, just like we're not meant to be friends with everybody, not every spiritual worker is meant to be a mentor for us. It all depends on the energy and how we vibe.
And that's not just true of mentors. I think that's when I first started, I remember thinking that we were going to be like some happy clappy love and light gang where everybody wanted the best for each other. And I went out there quite naively, like, hey, let's all be friends. You read cards, I read cards, let's read cards together. And then swiftly learned that, and it's exactly the same thing. People, we are all humans, and we are all coming at things through our own filters. And nobody in this physical incarnation is completely pure. and is faultless. And we're all at the subject of our own likes, dislikes, upbringing, experiences, but also where we are at on our own journey. And it's tough when you start to outgrow your mentors. I've been through that. And, you start to question, and you just start to feel like you don't fit anymore, like a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. And if you're like me, and I think you are, I kept trying to ram myself into that space, because who am I to know any different to you? Who am I to question this? You've been teaching me. And it can be so restrictive and hold so many of us back.
Yes.
And there are a lot of mediums who reach a certain level and then stop developing. And I don't think you can. I every time I learn anything, I realize how little I know, because there's so much more that gets uncovered that I can't even comprehend. Right. But some people get to where they are, they put themselves on a pedestal and stop that learning. So
ego will always be there, because we're human beings. But I think in this instance, I experienced this mentor, this person, their ego was taking a front seat in the car, and that's okay. I mean, I respect her, and she's a wonderful light worker, spiritual worker. But it just didn't align with me, and it taught me also. It reminded me how it's very important when I do readings to let my ego take the back seat and not drive the car.
Yeah, and also that you can trust your instincts.
Yes.
That you were feeling that. How many times have people listening, and I know that I have done this, we've just ignored what we feel until it's got so big that we can't ignore it anymore. And when you look back, you think, God, I knew that months ago. And you just try so hard, don't you, to be good and to fit in and to not rock the boat. And sometimes you have to. So that's really, I don't think anyone's ever given that piece of advice. And I love that. So thank you. So here's a lovely positive one. How has your work changed your life? Because I imagine it has rather a lot.
Oh, it has. It's wonderfully flipped my life. And it's just, I feel like my life was before very, very earth-minded. And how do I say this? I was just so invested in the physical world that this just has taught me to just see things in a different perspective. And I've always been a spiritual person, but I mentioned that comparison, in my opinion, is the root of many struggles on our planet. And I've struggled with comparison and keeping up with the Joneses. And when I do this work, it just frees me, whether momentarily or for a long period of time after reading, frees me from those struggles of self-comparison and self-doubt. It doesn't fix them. And that's why I mentioned before, like, therapy has been a huge component of my well-being. But working with spirit has been the rocket fuel boost to contributing to my mental well-being, and just the feeling of the feeling of feeling safe in my own body, in my own life experience. I have much more, as I mentioned, I am recently started developing these gifts. And if I feel this now, I can't imagine how my life is going to feel, how I'm going to progress as a person over the next few years, in the next 10, 20 years. So I'm really excited to see where this takes me.
Yeah. And I love that, because it is the feeling of safety. I think that's what they gave me too. There was no expectation to be perfect. I think when I started, I thought that they would want me to be more spiritual than I am, if you know what I mean. And actually the biggest lesson was, you're perfect as you are. We love you. Yes. We've got you. And that is absolutely, completely life-changing. Okay, so have you got a book you'd like to recommend to the listeners? I know you mentioned one earlier, but have you got a book that you would recommend for everyone to read?
Yeah, the book that for me changed my life was Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. It is don't let the title fool you. For those listening, if you haven't heard of it, it is a book written by Neale Donald Walsch. But the premise is that he himself was in a very low point in his life when he started journaling. And then he felt that he was getting messages from God's source and writing those messages on paper. And then 4 or 5 books later, here are these books. And I read the books with some skepticism, like, okay, God wrote these books, let's see. So I read them, and then I'm thinking, okay, if this is all a farce and there was no connection to spirit writing these books, well, then these books are pretty dang brilliant. written by a brilliant human being. I do believe he was directly inspired by source. So those books changed my life and helped me to see life and the struggles of this planet in a very new perspective. So there are 4 books. There's three introductory books and then 2 other books in the series, but definitely for me, Conversations with God has been a big one.
Oh, I have not heard of that. So I'm going to get it and read it. I can't wait. That's fantastic.
Highly recommend it. Yes.
Oh, fabulous. Great. And I know that you are a tarot guy, but do you have a particular set of cards you'd recommend for people?
So I actually just started working with oracle cards. I'm slowly starting to work with them. And I got myself, there's 2 oracle decks. I got the Moonology oracle cards, which I really love. And then one called the Dreamscape Oracle by Matt Hughes. And it's like Art Nouveau on, he also has a tarot deck. And I had that first. And I just love his artwork. I really connect with it. And so I got his oracle deck, the Dreamscape Oracle. Wonderful deck.
Oh, well, no, that's another deck I haven't got. I've got to stop asking this question because I've got a problem. My shelves are filled with them. Okay, but good. Thank you for your recommendations. And lastly, what's next for you? Where are you taking this next?
Yes, I intend to keep doing readings for folks. I actually recently started putting on my website how people can book readings with me, tarot card readings with me, and I'm going to keep attending mediumship circles. I'm excited to join your Elevate group coming up very soon. I'm so excited. So excited. And I think overall, I'm in this phase right now where I enjoy I'm enjoying what I'm doing with the spirit world. And I'm sometimes not quite sure what the future holds. And all I know is that I feel so much excitement. And while I don't know what the future holds, I know that the intuitive work I'm doing in the here and now is just what I need to feel connected with myself and the world around me. And it's going to lead me to people. And it already is leading me to people and circumstances that are just adding so much value to my life. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a vague answer. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be in 5 years from now, but what I see happening next is just continuing to do this work with people and having readings with folks. Amazing.
Thank you so much. So if people want to book a reading with you, where do they do it? What's your website?
Sure. Thank you. It's thirdeyesight.media. And you'll find my podcast listing of my episodes there, as well as a page for booking a reading. And it should be very simple to book it with a little calendar function where you can book a time and it will schedule it on my calendar and see what's free on my schedule.
Amazing. Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I'm sure we've all learnt loads, and it's just lovely to hear your perspective and you speak your truth. So that was really wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's my absolute pleasure.